Good morning. My name's Irene Beckett. I'm here on behalf of the American Coptic Council, and today we have the pleasure of interviewing Allyn Crawford, an attorney who is going for a judicial candidacy position on Staten Island. And today we're going to ask him just a couple of questions so the community can get to know him and where he stands on certain issues, and just a little bit about him. Allyn, thank you for joining us this morning, early in the morning.
And thank you for having me. This is really a pleasure and a privilege to be here. I'm looking forward to answering your questions. I'm looking forward to introducing myself to your community. It's particularly nice for me because I have had some involvement with the Coptic community on Staten Island. My law firm has represented the Church of Virgin Mary in St. George and the Church of Archangel Michael in St. Mina in some matters. So I do have had the opportunity to meet some of you and some of your leaders. And so this is, particularly nice for me.
Great, thank you so much. To start with, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I am a fourth generation Staten Islander. I grew up on the North Shore. I am married. I have two lovely children. I have been practicing law on Staten Island for 20 years. I have put together a law firm which has had some success out here. I have two wonderful partners. Some associates, and we've spent the last 20 years on Staten Island helping Staten Islanders dealing with their issues. I have a lot of community involvement, and I'm really looking forward to putting myself out there and succeeding at this position.
Okay, great. Can you tell us what qualities make you ready for a career on the bench?
Sure. It's funny when I think about this. I think about judges I've appeared before, and what makes, what do I think makes a good judge? And I sort of narrowed it down to four things. I think that you want a judge to have experience, you want a judge to understand the law, you want a judge to have humility, right? And you want a judge to be a hard worker. So, I have had a great deal of experience in dealing with exactly the sort of issues that a civil court judge in Staten Island would be faced with. I've been a litigator for 25 years. I've spent, as I said earlier, 20 years practicing on Staten Island, handling cases for people on Staten Island and solving the sort of issues that they would be faced with. So, the areas of law that I've practiced in have to do with the exact sort of areas of law that you would be dealing with as a civil court judge. So that would, contract matters, disputes over money, real property issues, housing issues. So I bring a great deal of experience as a litigator working in the court system to this, prospective position. And, I've also for many years volunteered as an arbitrator in the civil court. So, I've actually had the experience of, volunteering my time on a Thursday night a couple of times a month to come down and hear the actual cases that, if I'm fortunate enough to be elected, that I would be hearing, So I think I bring the kind of experience to the position that would be important. Also, I mentioned having a knowledge of the law. If you ask people about me, they say I'm a law guy. I'm a little bit of a geeky law guy, where I really dig into these issues, and I've always appreciated doing the research and understanding, exactly the issues that need to be decided. And I think because of that, I've been, somewhat successful at doing this. The third thing, and maybe one of the more important things, qualities I think I would bring to this position is good judges have the humility and the patience to understand that they don't know everything, to listen to the advocates, to listen to the litigants, to be persuaded as to their positions, and to realize that if you don't know something, you have to go and ask, and you have to have the patience to get to the right result. So I'd like to think that that's a quality that I possess, that I've learned over the years, in this business, that you need to bring to it. And the last quality that I would say that would, make me a good judge is I'm a tremendous hard worker. I've always have been. I'm a guy that's gets to work early and works hard, and I think that people that come before the court are entitled to that. To have a judge who's going to work hard, get on the bench on time, hear their cases, give them prompt decisions, and really kind of, put his shoulder into the position. So I think those are certainly some of the qualities that I would bring to the job: experience.
Okay, great. Thank you. What are some of the administrative issues you faced while practicing as an attorney that you would want to change if elected to the bench?
It's interesting about the position that I've been nominated for and I'm running for, having to do with the civil court. Interestingly, the civil court is the largest court of civil jurisdiction by volume in the United States, from what I understand. I think the New York City Civil Court gets about 25% of the filings for the entire state, right? The state of New York, big state. But I think only 6% of the court's workforce, right, for the entire state is employed by the New York City Civil Court. So there certainly are administrative, issues in that court by virtue just of the tremendous amount of volume that it faces. Also, the New York City Civil Court, for your viewers, a lot of the litigants who come before that court are unrepresented litigants, okay? So they're people that are appearing there pro se on smaller matters that are certainly incredibly important to them, and deserve the full attention of the court. So I think that the administrative issues that I've had to deal with there that you'd like to see changed have to do with the way that cases are filed and the way that cases are handled. It's a courthouse which still does all paper filings and stuff, which, in this day and age, a lot of people do things electronically. I think it's an administrative change that you'd like to see, come around. But you have to weigh that administrative change, with the access to justice for people who, may not have the ability to electronically file and that sort of thing. So I think that's certainly an administrative issue that we'd like to see some change on. But we're also living in a post, COVID-19 era right now, right? So I think that that's going to pose a tremendous administrative change on the court system, and particularly on this court, on the civil court, where it's going to be there's going to be some challenges in dealing with those sort of things. But look, administratively, a good judge, handles his calendar, moves his cases along, tries to be as efficient as he or she possibly can. And I think that those are certainly issues that every court struggles with. I think my experience in my business and running my business, and my experience in being in court and dealing with these issues over the last 25 years would give me the ability to make some of those changes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do you have any ideas that you would put in place to increase court efficiency and procedures? And you touched upon that in the last question, but do you have anything additional to add?
I think that the court system generally has a very, very dedicated and hardworking, workforce. And I do think my last answer did touch on a lot of these things, right? Where the administrative issues that the court system, in my view, faces have to do with not inefficiencies, but moving the system forward into the with more technology and more information management and that sort of stuff. So I think that those changes, as they're implemented, are going to be great for the court system. They will increase access to justice for people. They'll make the lives of the attorneys easier to deal with. But again, as I said earlier, we're dealing with an entirely new set of, my answer to your question may have been different 2 months ago, right? So, yeah.
Okay. How has your involvement in the community prepared you for a position on the bench?
If you asked me how I kind of thought about myself, I would say to you that, I kind of look at myself first as a husband and a father, and second maybe as a lawyer, but third as a Staten Islander. I believe in Staten Island, and I believe it's in its people. I'm a fourth generation Staten Islander, starting with my grandmother, my kids, and my grandmother, my father and his brothers, myself and my sister and my children all went to the same public school in Westerly, right? So I'm really invested in Staten Island and invested in its community. I've been involved as a Boy Scout leader, as a Little League coach. I scored basketball. I've gotten to know the people of Staten Island in a really, deep way. It's my home. It's my hometown, right? But I've also been really involved in the legal community here on Staten Island for a long time. I'm super proud of the fact that I'm a past president of the Richmond County Bar Association, something I was elected to by my peers. I've been involved in a number of community groups over the years, and I've been representing the people of Staten Island for over 20 years, right? From first-time home buyers to people starting out businesses to solving people's problems when they have litigation and everything else. So I know Staten Island's people. I think I'm fortunate to have become a part of this community, the business community and the personal community. And the 20 years of practice here and what I've been able to give back to the community, I think demonstrates my involvement and why I would be a qualified person for this position.
Okay, great. Thank you. And lastly, is there anything else you would like to tell our viewers?
Yeah, and again, I've touched on this over and over, but I think my record of dedication and hard work to the legal profession, makes me the best qualified candidate for this position. It's not a political job. I'm not a politician. I'd like to think that I was asked to take on this opportunity because of my qualifications. A civil court judge isn't someone who's making policy decisions or ruling on socially sensitive issues. It's a job where you're going to get your hands dirty and you're really going to deal with people's real problems and real issues on a very personal basis. I understand what brings people into the courtroom. I've litigated, I think, probably every side of every kind of matter that might come into the civil court and that I might be asked to hear. I'd like to think I've earned the respect of my peers and my colleagues throughout Staten Island's legal community. And I look at, if I was fortunate enough to be elected judge, I think that I would hit the ground running and give it the same kind of effort that I've done everything in my career. And I feel very fortunate and blessed to be asked to take on this opportunity and to run for this position. And I'd just like to thank all of your viewers and the people in your community for being given the opportunity to talk to them, particularly in this way, during this kind of difficult time we're going through. And I wish them all good health and good fortune. And I thank you for, taking your time to do this.
Okay, thank you so much, Allyn. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us and answer these questions. I think the most important thing that the American Coptic Council strives to do is just provide information to viewers so they
Sure.
can always make the best educated decisions for themselves and their families. So again, thank you for joining us this morning.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you.